For the 3 long weeks have I been waiting for this beauty to arrive to me at length, and it lingered somewhere in post offices and customs. And today, this morning, for actually, when my postman ringed, he declared, "There is one large package for you, and I leave it at the front door, and you just get down and grab it." And I did so, and now I think it's the time to do the slight revision of pros and contras for this edition that I perceived skimming roughly the pages on the first glance. So please stay tuned for more details regarding this edition, and take your seats. And this scene illustrates all of my thrilling peak on the unboxing of this item when I finally got it in my hands. So the book arrived in this card box, and as we may perceive, this card box is a bit different than with other items, because it's designed as the map of Middle Earth at the end of the Third Age, a well-known map to all of us. And the book itself is housed in a custom-built slipcase bound in this red cloth and stamped in a gold foil with a circular die cut reveal the eye of Sauron. And when you unbox it, we may see that it is red cloth and red for leather bound, I would say, and it's quite similar with the addition of the Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales. Regarding this texture, that is somewhat resembling a gauze, and it's a quarter leather bound, and these inscriptions are stamped with 2 foils, as we may read on the pamphlet that comes with the book. And of course at the back side is a Tolkien's sign, and it's actually the design which Tolkien fancied to be the design for the very first edition of The Lord of the Rings. But unfortunately the publisher Allen and Unwin couldn't provide that fancy of his to be fulfilled at that moment when the first part of The Lord of the Rings were published due to some problems with disposals of their publishing company. And there is an additional feature that one may not find in other similar editions. I mean in the recent Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales, those gilded edges of the book, as you may perceive the glittering and glistening upon this artificial light, and I find it quite delightful. And of course ribbon bookmark is present here, and it's in the same hue as red leather on the cover. And when you open it at length, you will find these additional paraphernalia or appendices, and those are, as we may see, 2 foldable maps. And it's of course the map of the Middle Earth at the end of the Third Age. It's quite large format, and it's printed for the first time in this scale. And the another one is the map of Rohan, Gondor and Mordor. Another paraphernalia, leaves from the Book of Mozabel. And actually I expected these 3 pages to be incorporated within the text and printed within the book, and not cut off in this manner from the book and added in this very poor envelope, I would say. And I'm quite unsatisfied with such design of those leaves from the Book of Mozabel. It's such a shame that those aren't incorporated within the text on the proper place, and that's the first recommendation, as I could say, of this edition. And the final appendix is the King's letter, and this is the letter that Aragorn sent to Sam, and it's written in Tengwar. And it is said here, the letter appears in the epilogue to The Lord of the Rings, a scene of quiet contentment at Bag End. The final version of the epilogue was written at a very late stage, but it's evident that it was intended by Tolkien to be a part of the story. He was, however, ultimately persuaded by others to omit it from the published text, a decision that, according to his son Christopher, he seems to have both accepted and regretted. To learn more about the epilogue and to read it in full, readers are directed to Christopher Tolkien's discussion in Chapter 11 of Sauron Defeated, Volume 9 in the History of Middle-earth. And now, within this edition, you will have this final Aragorn's letter to Sam as a part of the book where it ought to belong. And now, we should scrutinize in details, as in all other such videos, the quality of the paper and of the illustrations and the bounding. The first glance, I may say that the paper is quite thin, and that it's so-called biblical paper, because Bible and other large volumes are often printed in such type of the paper due to heaviness at the end, and due to numerous pages which will cause the book to be enormously thick. And I can say that this type of paper is okay to be settled, for instance, in the History of Middle-earth. In those conjoined editions, as we may see here, this paper is quite thin. And in comparison with this edition, it's not thin as in this edition, but it is a bit thinner than one may expect it. I do like the graphics, and it's all printed in this red hue. And here at the beginning we may see the inscription. That's Tolkien's handwriting, and it's the ring verse. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men damned to die, 1 for the Dark Lord and his dark throne in the land of Mordor when the shadows lie. And, of course, when we skip the contents, which is known to all of us, we should reach the page with the illustration list. There are 32 illustrations, but I could not agree that all of these graphics can be called illustrations. Much of them are merely sketches, and they certainly weren't intended to be printed within the book as with the Hobbit was the intention of the publisher, and for the Hobbit Tolkien made proper illustrations, both as graphics and both in color. And here those illustrations are some of them are finished, as this one, The Old Man Willow, or The Forest of Lothlorien in Spring, a well-known illustration, or my favorite Fangorn Forest, which was previously Town of Fuin. As we may see, those are the relics of the drawing from firstly titled as Town of Fuin. And if you look closer for the details at the very bottom of the roots of this immense tree, you will see one figure here, and you will see the another figure over there. And this one is Beleg, and he's searching for a Turin, his brother-in-arms, who has been taken captive by the orcs. And there is a small lantern here, the blue lighted lantern that is glittering beside the Turin's reposed body. Or maybe this one is the Orthanc as the Tolkien imagined it in its proper form. Or maybe my another favorite, Dunharrow, with this plain here and those standing stones leading to the amphitheatre. And for example, this one is rather unfinished, Minas Tirith, as well as the arm of Sauron that Tolkien depicted how it's supposed to look. And many, many more, as the Tower of Kiritungol, along with the inscripted text in his handwriting, of the plan of Shelob's lair, and another one. It's incorporated within the text as a form of a sketch. And Minas Morgul, the crossroads. This is a sort of a map that is quite informative, I would say. Of the Hornburg at the Helm's Deep. It's depicted the entering into the glittering caves, and the Hornburg itself with its form, and here the surrounding lands are also depicted as in the map. Moria Gate, very, very beautifully illustrated and accurate, as the Tolkien himself wanted Moria Gate to look like, and of course Durin's door. And there is his depiction of the Barad-dûr, and here is some rather unfinished, I would say, drawing, Buckland Ferry, and Bag End Underhill. I think this one is relic from the Hobit pool of the illustrations, as well as this one. This one is previously published in the Hobbit edition with Tolkien's illustrations, but never mind. And another one premiere, as to say, that manner, is that on the beginning of each of the books, I mean of those of the books that count as a trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King, the cover design are imprinted, as in a manner that Tolkien himself wanted the covers to be designed, and he himself drawn the Sauron Eye which is depicted on the front cover, as in many other editions. And the cover for the Two Towers. Oh, wait. Ha ha, blimey! The leaves for the Book of Mozarble are incorporated within the text. Oh, my mistake. I apologize. Oh, quite marvelous. Quite marvelous. Oh, that's a sheer delight. Oh, I'm quite happy now to discover this turnover. Great happiness. Oh, yes. The design for the Two Towers is placed before the book 3 or at the beginning of the Two Towers as the separated edition, and at length the Return of the King, the original design for the front cover of the edition that Tolkien intended to be published as book 3 of the trilogy. You may as well hear these slight crepitations on the skimming of the pages, because the glue and the pages are still fresh, and because of that those crepitations are present. But soon they will not be, because I'm intending to use this book, and this book should be read, and this book should be skimmed as I do here. So for me it's not intended to be placed just on a bookshelf to be nice and beauty and shiny and glossy, but I intend to skim it and to read it, and again to enjoy in this first thus edition, which incorporated the all Tolkien schemes and illustrations that he intended to be the part of the book, which ought to be published in his time as a single volume. And another thing is that these illustrations were previously published in this volume, The Art of the Lord of the Rings. This shape is more friendly, to say, for those illustrations, because most of them are in square shape, not in this shape of a regular book. And this is a regular shape for portfolios or some albums with illustrations. So in such form, all those illustrations could be printed in a large scale and on the entire page. Contrariwise here, as you may see, some of those illustrations, for example this one of the irregular shape, had to be shrinked as would fit on the page, and here we may see it in all its glory and beauty, and it's in the proper scale that it was drawn. You may compare. So that was all for this video that I intended to say, and all in all this edition is I would say quite a gem for all the collectors of Tolkien's books. And of course, along with these minuses, as you may see here, these bindings are decaying slowly as I skim the pages and hold it in my hands. But nevertheless, it's the first thus edition, and its value will increase in time. So if you catch the opportunity to buy it in your local bookstore or to order it on the internet, do so, because as the time goes by, the price of this edition will be higher and higher. So grab your copy while it's still in some, to say, decent price. And if you have some questions regarding the Tolkien's additions or anything else, you may ask me down there in the comments or on my Instagram profile Barbatus Calvus, and I should gladly answer all your dilemmas. Thank you for watching and see you next video. Bye.